It is September 1940, and the fields and gardens of Kent are bathed in golden sunshine. But up there, with the blue autumn sky as their arena, Hurricanes and Spitfires of the RAF gave battle to Goering's vaunted Luftwaffe. Through weeks which held the breathless attention of the whole world, the immortal few fought the Battle of Britain from dawn to dusk. They saved Britain from invasion when she was weak, and by saving her, they saved humanity.
We had a squadron truck, you know, it was a big van, and would come up to our sleeping quarters and all the pilots would come staggering out, having got themselves ready. We'd jump into this truck and we'd belt off down to the dispersal hut just as the dawn was coming, and we'd then go out and look at our airplanes and say good morning to our ground crews and see that everything was ready. Parachutes were all in the cockpits. And then we'd go back and wait for the call.
Somebody would say, clear, contact, and the clank of a reduction gear, and the engine would fire, and before you knew what happened, all 12 Spitfires were turning then, and the ground would reverberate, and the dew would come in streams off the top of the wings, and harnessed power. It was very, very sinister.
They look as if they want to go. They look as if they're prepared to jump. I can see it now, one picture of the light coming up and shining on the Spitfire, you know. I can always remember that.
We had a radiogram at dispersal, and we used to have quite a good selection of Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller records. They relieved the gloom a bit because they had a good lilt, you know, a good tapping tune about them. But the radiogram used to get some pretty bad treatment. We were all in good mood, you know.
Yes, one was so young. We were playing cards and that sort of thing. The squadron artist, John Parker, would be decorating the ceiling with, what were they called, the Varga girls or something like that? Anyway, blonde young ladies with air-cooled chests, if I put it mildly, and that sort of thing. Games of cards, writing letters, I suppose, reading papers, reading a book, just relaxing. And then when the screamer went, off you went, fast.
And then we rush out to our Spitfires and take off and go to war, and 4 times a day, 5 times sometimes. Fight until your ammunition ran out, and then come back and land. Refuel, wait for the next telephone call. Scramble Angels 20, what have you, bandits, snappers.
I can remember thinking, coming back into the circuit, because the first time I'd ever really had a chance to look at it, having survived this Holocaust, that below me was a sort of pockmarked area of green expanse that was an airfield. In the other corner were the hangars. Not one moving, not one left. I mean, you know, bomb damage everywhere. Newly patched bits of tarmac on the runways. And you sort of landed and threaded your way between the bomb damage. And I thought, well, God, they still haven't put us out of action. And then a slight feeling of anger came over me. Afterwards, a peaceful sort of place, that part of Kent, and these bastards came over and bombed hell out of it, and I thought, this is crazy. You know, what right do they come and do this?
I remember that when we got back, the airfield had been heavily bombed. It had been bombed the day before, a great number of casualties, and the place was a complete mess. We landed in amongst bomb craters, and I remember being picked up by a young girl who's lost her fiancé the day before, and she dodged in and out of these bomb holes to take us back to the mess. And that night in the mess, of course, it was a shambles. We had no lights. We fed by candlelight and drank. And the station commander who had been wounded was walking around with his arm in a sling and his head bandaged. And then late that night, I went up to my room and shook the dust and stuff off the bed and went to sleep.
I always remember that lovely scene, though, from the airfield down to the hop fields in Kent. The beauty of that scenery. Of course, it was the height of summer, you see. August, height of summer.
It was amazing to stand outside and watch the black clouds. They were like flies going over. Ours would already be up there, and they'd dive on them, and then the MEs would dive on them, and it was really fantastic to watch, day after day. Hated them to go back on duty. We used to have our coffee and so on out there, mug of coffee. Wouldn't drink it because you were so busy watching.
I was in the cookhouse and I was walking out with a batch of other airmen, and as we came out, there was a flight of aircraft coming very, very low over the south perimeter. And one of the blokes says, "Oh, look, Blenheims." Somebody else said, "Blenheims be buggered." He says, "Them's Jerry's." So there was a general stampede. Now, right opposite the cookhouse was a very big shelter indeed. Everybody dashed down there, except me. I must have been stark raving mad. I turned left on the perimeter track. And by this time, there's aircraft all over, bombing, strafing with machine guns, doing the lot. And there's a small shelter on the side of the track. And there was an aircraft coming straight towards me. I knew it was. And I threw myself down the steps of this shelter. And as I threw myself down, there was a burst of machine gun fire right over the top. I missed it by that much. Anyway, I was sat in there till they all cleared had gone and went back the way I'd come. Now, the shelter I should have gone down, it was just a vast crater with bits of blokes all over the place, blown to bloody atoms.
I was saddened by it because they were all marked and cut. One or two I see dead was all pitted, you know, face absolutely blotted with blast, I suppose that would be.
The awfulness of it all struck you, but the main thing was to get on with it and clear up and keep the place going.
Everything was total devastation. It looked as if it would never rise from the ashes, but it didn't even rise from the ashes because it never went under. It flew the whole time. Biggin Hill never stopped for a minute.
Hit right on the shoulder. She was killed.
And suddenly his hand was gripped down below. He shouted.
I remember wanting to go and help him and being shouted at, don't go. It's not your job.
It's not a mark on the road and been battered many times.
The noise got louder and louder, and nearer and nearer. It was hell for that footage.
Biggin Hill, to me, was one of my main seriousness of the war, rather than anywhere abroad I went, like Alamein or Italy, Malta, or the desert. I think Biggin Hill stands out the worst. War I've been in, to me, it is a sad place, I would say. You had your light moments of that, you know. But to me, I wouldn't go back there. Because it fetches back too many memories, really. Too many sad days.
Even though you're far away, I can hear the music of the song of love I sang with you. You are always in my heart, and when
I remember when I close my eyes, you know what I mean, I remember all those days at Biggin Hill, places, sittings, joking with them, playing cards, and drinking in the officer's mess, and so on and so on. History will never forget it. History will always remember.
It was something one never was going to get out of one's system. Biggin Hill would always remain an emotional experience that one would have, and nothing else that one did during the war would ever be on a parallel to that. I think a lot of that was due just to the spirit, the incredible spirit at Biggin Hill, of help from everybody to everybody else, regardless of who they were, what they were, or anything.
Comradeship and welfare for each other, especially for each other, supporting each other. The armourer, your mechanic, the chap who looked after your radio phones, the sergeant who looked after them, and the flight commander who looked after his younger pilots, who will include me. So it's a pretty nice story, I would say.
It was romantic, dangerously romantic. And good fun, good living, companionship. I felt I belonged to something worthwhile. I belonged to his service, and we were doing a job that had to be done. We were achieving quite a lot in our own small way, and it was all worthwhile. The Battle of Britain. Yes, I was proud to be there, and still am.
Biggin is Biggin. It has a sort of magic about it. The first time I walked into it, it was already very well known as one of the important stations around London, and it had some sort of an aura about it. It had almost a sort of sanctity about it, because I suppose because it was already famous, and it was a tremendous feather in one's cap to be posted to it at a young age. All my memories of it are good, except for all the people who got killed either on it or over it. I think it's quite a healthy memory to have, even though it's about a bit of grass and some dear old buildings. That's where a lot happened.
I wouldn't change the experience of a fighter squadron at Biggin Hill. In 1940 and 41, I would not change that for anything. I'm privileged to have taken part in it, and even more privileged to have survived it.
Where I grew up. And I never left Biggin Hill. I never left Biggin Hill. Never. You never do. Never left it.
I'd fly like a birdie in the sky with the tra-la-la-la, a tree-tree-tree-tree. It's a pair of wings for me. Take a trip to the moon on high. Ask him why he winks his eye with the tra-la-la-la, a tree-tree-tree-tree. Get the angels swinging on the hops for me. Hop the hop, da 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 da. It's a pair of wings for me. If I only had wings, I'd fly, fly, fly like a birdie in the sky. Of wings for me, drifting, dreaming, watching those clouds roll by. I'd be skimming, I'm happy in the bright blue sky. If I only had wings, 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 I'd fly like the birdie in the sky. Scop-de-dip-de-dip, it's a pair of wings for me. Yes, 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 a pair of wings for me.
ghosts. They're still flying somewhere.